So if you're watching this, you're likely a president, someone on the C-suite, or running a sales team, and you're looking at potentially hiring a new salesperson. And as we know, sales false starts are one of the most expensive things that you can do from an HR standpoint. So one of the questions is, how do I get more confident about this next hire that I'm going to do? And there's all kinds of different thoughts out there in terms of how we approach it. Many of the approaches today are using either some sort of a gut feel or some sort of a emotional behavioral assessment that really has a pretty low predictive validity of whether or not you're going to be successful. So a lot of those predictive validities, if you look at it from a third-party standpoint, might be in the 20 to 40% range. There are better ways, and there's actually a science to going about hiring, and we've got a standard 8-step approach to doing that. And one of the backbones of that approach is actually a third-party objective management group evaluation of the candidate that's coming in. Now, that evaluation has a 91% predictability, and so you can know that if it's recommended within the evaluation, the assessment that comes through, that candidate will actually be in the top half of the sales team within the first 6 to 12 months. And so why is it so important is now you can make data-based decisions. So we're going to talk about the 8 steps that we walk through in terms of setting you up for success on your hiring process, especially with sales. And the first step is research. Is talking to the internal teams to understand and define what's good about that seat. Will help you not only from defining the seat from a 35 questions that we use, but we'll also talk to the internal team members to define what they believe is success for a fellow team member. Step 2 is we'll talk about and identify the real culture in your organization. So not only do you want to hear from internal team members, but you want to define what is the culture you're going for on the sales team. Are you looking for more extrinsically motivated people or intrinsically motivated people, which may be different from how you want to go about compensation plan and all those things. But we also want to look at the culture of the organization that you're trying to develop. And so that's what we do in stage 2. In step 3, we're going to really write a good ad, and that's really helping you write an ad that tells the truth. Not just all the wonderful things about your organization, but all the garbage that they're going to have to deal with that every organization has in this process. And telling the truth in your ad is really important. In fact, it's going to drive more people, the right people, to you because you're telling the truth, and they'll appreciate that. In step 4, we'll actually try to help you set up within your own team the way to post the ad, the places to post the ad, and the right process to post the ad so that you internally can manage that process better yourself and look at the world-class ways to do that. Step 5 is really important because before we talk to anybody, we want to make sure we run them through an assessment first. And the assessment's really important because the assessments will actually tell us what questions to ask them when we actually conduct the interviews. It'll also tell us where they are in their sales growth journey and how they fit within the peer sets that they have. It'll also weed out a lot of people that just aren't really qualified to fit the seat in the first place. And so we want to do the assessment before we actually move on and actually start to talk to people. In the qualification stage, step 6, it becomes really important in terms of how we approach this. This is a short call. It's a call, not a Teams chat, not a Zoom meeting, nothing face-to-face, so that we can remove bias and actually set up the call to weed out from a cultural perspective and some other key items up front, anybody that we do not want to take on further in the process. Finally, we want to make sure we set up the right structure around the interviewing process, scorecarding, and making sure that the team understands how they want to approach these interviews themselves. And finally, step 8 is we're going to look at the onboarding process. So often this gets overlooked. And so making sure that the team or the individual coming in has the right onboarding process. Using the assessment, we can actually evaluate what training should be done and in what priority order, because everybody needs some training once they get started. Nobody is perfect. And so looking at that onboarding process as a whole will help them be successful as they get started.